Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our nightly update. And we've had a couple changes that have occurred today, especially with the modeling there with our little area of interest out here highlighted in the middle of the tropical Atlantic. So earlier we had this hatched area extending to the east of the islands. As of this afternoon's 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time outlook, that area has now been trimmed back into the Caribbean. And it has also lost its 10% development percentages that it had within the first 48 hours and is now currently at 0% for the first 48 hours, but still maintained its 30% chance of development over the next 7 days. And we have this little spot out here that may get some subtropical characteristics as it moves over the Gulf Stream waters, and it may do something. 10% chance. We're not really going to discuss that too much here tonight. More of the focus is going to be down here into the tropical Atlantic and the main development region. So I've pulled up here the surface analysis from the Tropical Outlook discussion from the National Hurricane Center. And the reason that I've done that is I want to highlight that there are two tropical waves. Now, the second wave is the one that we have been talking about, monitoring, and watching. This first wave is in front of it. Now, as we get into the models, I want you to remember that we do have two tropical waves with one in front of the one that we are talking about. This is going to play a critical role in some of the differences between the Euro and the GFS's deterministic runs here later on in the broadcast. So if we take a quick look at Earthdal, though, we've got this down on the surface, and I've got it right about where the wave axis is for the current O30 that we have out there. So we're down at the surface, and now I'm going to come up to about 5,000 feet, or approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface. And as you can see, we have an increase in winds right in this little pocket right here. And then you also have the winds that come up and kind of kink around like that. This is the area of focus that we're looking at for our wave. Now, as I continue to come up into the atmosphere, we're at the 700 millibar level, and as you can see, this is about 10,000 feet up. It's still in this particular region. Now, it's not going to be vertically aligned because it is just a disorganized wave at this point in time. So you're not going to see things lined up on top of one another like you would with a well-developed storm. But now, as we come up to the 500 millibar level, things get a little interesting because we've got our mid-level spin here with our winds, obviously our wave axis being in and around here. But at the same time, you've also got this little spot right here. And again, it's not much. If we come back and we look at it on satellite, though, there are some shower and thunderstorms associated with it, being wave 1 and wave 2. Now, there's a reason, again, why I am discussing here wave 1 in a little bit more than I have been over the last couple nights. So what we've got here is the Euro ensembles. And I've got this pushed out 7 days. Even if I come back to day 5, we have absolutely nothing. Go forward 6, 7. And now we start to get development there into the southwestern portions of the Caribbean, although the signal is very low. There's not very many circles there at all, and especially a majority of the 50 members. So as I continue to run this forward in time, you'll notice that even when we get out to day 9, everything is struggling to get above 15 degrees north. And we don't see much else. Now, no, excuse me. Here we're out 10 days on the Euro legacy. And we really didn't have anything, and it has stayed trapped down below 15 degrees north. So that is, let's just kind of keep that in mind as we progress forward here and we eventually get into our deterministic runs. Now, again, here I have the GEFS, and we're going to compare that with what we saw with the Euro. So we're going to come back to day 5. Now, here at day 5, we have a small signal here for portions of the Eastern Caribbean. We could even come back to day 4 just so everybody can see the progression of that. It's only a couple lines, so a very low percentage of development chances there. But now, as I continue to roll forward, you will see that the GFS wants to signal on both waves. So if we were to get a development here, we may see development also in the Western Caribbean. Now, this is obviously not marked anywhere on the National Hurricane Center, but it's something that I believe needs to be worth mentioning, because now after I get out to the day 10 mark, if you remember, we didn't have very many ensemble members showing much of a signal. But now, if you look at it, it's almost like we get it to potentially develop anywhere along this type of line. In some form or fashion, in a broad area of pocket of development that is kind of like this. So at that point in time, seeing that signal from the GEFS, we'll see why here in a second, because the GFS deterministic vorticity certainly shows exactly what's going on, especially where the GEFS is concerned. Now, if we compare this with the Euro AI, here we're out 7 days. We'll come back to day 5. We've got a couple little signals there. Not much. Now, if it develops kind of early and it gets above 15 degrees north, then it trails out to the northeast potentially. But then if we get it to day 10, again, we're seeing this broad area of signal to where it is somewhere in this particular zone to where we may see development potentials. Now, again, we have 2 tropical waves with only one of those being labeled. Now, we're going to jump over to the Google DeepMind. And this, yes, there is a tropical cyclone out there. Don't worry about it, folks. That's just kind of a glitch in the system. I promise you there's not a tropical storm off the southeastern coast of the United States right now. But now, as I run this forward, we'll notice there's that one line. There's day 5, day 6, day 7. Now, at this point, we're starting to, again, we're noticing, we've got this cluster right here, but we're also noticing that we've got this area of broad circulation that could very well be associated with the Central American gyre. This first wave could set the gyre off. That's kind of what maybe we're looking at here. And now if I continue to run this forward, you will note that even by the time that I get out to day 8, so we're only 1 day ahead of where we just were, again, this large pocket of development potentials exist. So what that's really all coming down to, it's helping to increase the uncertainty associated with this particular wave, because there's actually two waves. So right now, this is going to show exactly what's going on. So right now, we're going to be taking a look at our 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity. The 850 millibar level, again, is approximately around 5,000 feet, or around 1 mile above the ocean surface. Now, we've got the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. And I'm going to highlight our wave here. There's our other wave there. Now, we know from the surface analysis, even though it doesn't really show up too well here on the vorticity maps, that there is another tropical wave in front of this. We can see the convective activity located right on, GOES satellite. So I'm going to erase this, and now we're going to take this forward. And here comes that wave. We're going to stop at around day 4. So here we are. We're at day 4. Now, there are big differences between the GFS and the Euro. Our wave that we are talking about is right here with the GFS. The wave with the Euro is up here. But if you look here, there's a little area of energy. And if you look here on the GFS, there's another little wave of energy right here. That's the first wave. But the thing about it is that it kind of develops into more of a trough axis, to where you've got it kind of running like this, and then a large, broad area of rotation is getting ready to develop, with wave 1 anchoring one end of it, wave 2 anchoring the other end of it. So as I roll this forward, the GFS is the one that's really, really showing this. And the Euro, because of the fact that wave 1 was a little bit quicker, wave 2 kind of gets in there behind it, you will note that here we're going to get it out to day 6. Now, at this point, the Euro is developing an area of low pressure right here, large gyre. Wave 1 is slipped out into parts of the eastern Pacific. You've got this broad area of rotation that is existing, but this is coming this general direction. The GFS, on the other hand, the GFS has our developing area that we have highlighted on the outlook here, but another area of low pressure that is developing here. Those are too close, folks. And that is going to kind of leave for a little bit of a binary interaction between both of those. Now, as the first area lifts off, as you can see with the Euro developing a large, broad area of circulation, as that first area is lifting out, with what would be Melissa heading out in this general direction, the other kind of pocket, you could see some of the wind flow still coming in like this. And we still have the wind flow for this entire area like this. And now we've got the anchored little area of energy that is slipped off into the eastern Pacific, as to where the Euro has a very, very broad gyre at this point with no development. Here we're out 204 hours into the future. Now, if I run this all the way to day 10, you can see that with the development of what would be Melissa exiting out into parts of the Atlantic, it is dragging any remnant energy, shearing it, pulling it, kind of ebb and flow, tug and pull, and we get nothing after this. Clears the basin, gone, done with. The euro, on the other hand, has still the existence of a broad area of circulation here. Now, again, we got no development from the euro, and we saw with the euro legacy ensembles that nothing was allowed to get above 15 degrees north. Nothing made it north of the northern Honduras coastline, which, if you just look at the map, if you get north of Honduras, which is this country located right here, if you get north of this coastline, you now have all of this extra water in which to work with headed out to the west. If you do not get north of that, you then have Nicaragua to deal with and just the overall land mass and land interaction. Now, if that area of circulation is, say, located over here, we could be looking at a completely different solution. If it's located up here, a little bit closer to some of that rocket fuel water, we could be looking at a completely different solution. But right now, the euro is showing something that turns this into a broad area of circulation, basically a Central American gyre with a frontal boundary that is pressing down and not allowing this to capture really anything at all, with a high pressure to the north of the system. On both models, you could see the high pressure ridges here. The trough that is allowing for the weakness is right here, and that's exiting stage right. With the other one, you've got kind of a weak trough feature kind of in this region right here, with a high pressure ridge just pressing down on this, and it would not allow this to come northward. So a lot of it's got to do with exactly the orientation of the trough and stuff like that. So this set of graphics is going to help us kind of determine exactly where some of those frontal boundaries coming off of the United States mainland are. So again, we have the euro on the left and the GFS on the right. On the top two graphics, we have the 500 millibar humidity. On the bottom two graphics are the 700 millibar humidity. Now, these represent areas into the atmosphere between 10 and 18,000 feet above the ocean surface. We're looking for that large pocket of dry air, because tropical cyclones and an extreme amount of dry air don't necessarily coexist well with one another, especially from the tropical cyclone's perspective. So as we run this forward, we'll see that there's a great amount of dry air, and here comes this next frontal boundary. So for folks, I know that there is the opportunity maybe for a little bit of rain, especially into Alabama, getting into kind of the Mississippi and Tennessee valleys. So please, I do know that there is the potential for some severe weather. So please, folks, make sure you're paying attention to your National Weather Service office and their forecasts. Now, as we continue to roll this forward, we'll see, here comes that wave. The euro's kind of got it stretched out and strung out, being chased by a whole bunch of dry air. The GFS, on the other hand, has a very moist environment, especially with that first wave kind of clearing out some of the drier air that is ahead of it. And now we start to get the compression of that frontal boundary, as you can see, more and more southerly push to that frontal boundary. And then here comes another reinforcing shot of drier air with another low pressure coming across parts of the United States. And we're also getting a development of a very strong ridge of high pressure over the western Gulf of Mexico. That is also going to be critical for anything that may try to exist in parts of the Western Caribbean. You're not going through that high pressure. You have to go around the high pressure. And because of the high pressure the circulation around high pressure in the northern hemisphere goes clockwise, you're looking at not being able to draw northward as long as that high pressure remains in place. Now, another part of what we look for when it comes to potential tropical cyclone development is wind shear. If we have a great amount of wind shear, we won't have much opportunity for the development of a tropical cyclone or hurricane storm, whatever you want to call it. Now, again, we have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. These two graphics are representative of our deep layer wind shear. This measures the wind's width, height, and changing its speeds with height and direction between the 200 and 850 millibar level. So this is looking at the wind column between about 40,000 feet all the way down to around 5,000 feet. So as we run this forward, we will see that yes, there is a little bit of shear out there, but due to the low trajectory and track of this particular wave, it is kind of sliding up underneath it. Now, as we get into parts of this upcoming week, we're here at day 4, we can see that there's a decent amount of shear on both models across the majority of the eastern and a good amount of the central Caribbean. Now, as I run this forward, you will note that there then becomes a small pocket of, well, we can show it here at hour 120. It really highlights it, folks. You can see this area right here. All right, you've got winds coming in this way. You've got a shear component coming out this way. But look at this, basically kind of like this little troughing feature. You've got one area of energy on this end, one area of energy on that end. Where the Euro is concerned, all we have is just a broad area of low pressure right here with the outflow on this, and it tucked up underneath the shear belt. As you can see, that shear belt is right there. So if it gets too far north, it's not necessarily going to care for the environment that it's going to find itself in. Now, if we run this forward, we're going to get it out to day 6. The Euro kind of glitched out there, did not load the 144-hour frame, so I've got it on the 150 frame. Where we're at with the GFS, again, we've got this little area here, we've got this other area here. This one is developing into what would be Melissa, but then now this shear is not necessarily an inhibitor of tropical cyclone development because of the fact that it's located just to the north. This potentially becomes an enhancement for further tropical cyclone development. And that would kind of help to ventilate the storm off to the north and allow it to get rid of its exhaust. And as you can see, that's exactly what happens. Broad area of rotation still exists, kind of frontal, then goes over the islands, breaks free of that frontal feature, and now we have a bona fide tropical, good tropical cyclone out here being ventilated by this shear, but will eventually pull a little bit too far north and allow this more southerly side of this shear to really start to impact the southern side of the circulation. But as you can see with the low pressure center here and all of this increased ventilation on the northern side. The Euro, on the other hand, has a thou shall not pass belt of shear. And even if we were to get this to verify, this broad area of circulation down here and this low pressure, where are you going? if you draw up north, you are going to run right into that shear. You're guaranteed to make that kind of turn, even if you can make it that far. With this type of shear, you are going to take the vertical alignment of that storm, which would be like this, and you are going to try to turn it into something like this. Tropical cyclones do not like that. You need everything to be vertically aligned. It does not like misalignment at all. It's trying to achieve symmetry, and it can't do that if it's tilted over from with height from one side to the other. Okay, all right, let me go ahead and jump into our MJO discussion here. Phase 2, heading off towards 3, 4, and 5, which is great news for our side of the planet. We will get hopefully a suppressive phase that will just be long enough in time to then allow for some more frontal boundaries to kind of move through, not really have any resistance down there in parts of the Caribbean. We get a cold front to clear through. We clear the Caymans. We clear Jamaica. Maybe even getting a frontal boundary as far down to folks down there, Honduras and Belize and Guatemala. Maybe we can get one down there that far. With El Salvador getting involved with it as well, and that would pretty much put the final nail in the coffin for any kind of major significant threat for hurricane season. It's still not done, but being able to find really conducive conditions that are going to last for an extended period of time to allow something to consolidate, you're not really gonna, that type of environment's not really gonna exist, especially as we get towards the end of October and getting into November. We could still get things down there, but it's not looking too promising for especially the near or kind of the medium or long range. We've just got to deal with this particular area that we're dealing with right now, and then after that, not too sure that we'd even see anything else for the season. We'll have to wait and see, but it doesn't seem likely. All right, I am going to take a look. All right, I don't have any questions, so now I'm going to jump out to points beyond, and we're out here into the Eastern Pacific. We're taking a look at Invest 91E. Invest 91E is plummeting with its development percentages. It is now down to 20% chance overall through the next 48 hours and 7 days. It does not have 7 days. Again, 20%. Its development percentages. It's becoming increasingly unlikely. Taking a look at the ensembles, this is all the way out 10 days. Again, becoming increasingly unlikely that we are not going to see tropical cyclone development. Even with the aggressive GEFS, which it can be sometimes here with showing development, we don't have much out there either. Comparing that with the Euro AI, again, not much. No. Maybe a tropical depression, but I doubt it. I doubt it very highly. Now, jumping out to the Western Pacific and points beyond. Here in the Western Pacific, on the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, this is known as Invest 96W. And then we also have Invest 94S down here into the southern Indian Ocean. This is likely to develop and then progress towards Madagascar and points westward there towards Eastern Africa. But 96W, this has been named Tropical Depression Ramil from Pagasa, from the Philippine, from the Philippine Meteorological Agency here. And as you can see, tropical cyclone Ramil, or tropical depression Ramil, has quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity located to the south of the center, and all of this shower and thunderstorm activity is forecast to come across portions of the central Philippines, getting into and passing very close by the capital there of the Philippines in Manila, coming out as a storm, moving out over the South China Sea, and then hopefully, and it seems likely that it's going to do that, turn towards the southwest and spare this area up here, especially for the Hainan Peninsula, getting into the Gulf of Tonkin and towards southern China and northern Vietnam. They've taken enough this year. I've seen videos out of northern Vietnam that reminded me of Katrina in 2005 in New Orleans, with the amount of flooding to where all you see is just the roofs of homes, block after block after block after block. So, well, tropical storm Ramil, they've got a level 2 warning on that. Let's see what they have. That's an upgrade. There we go. Load it on in. So definitely expecting it to be a storm here throughout the course. With maybe a wind signal 3 scenario, but that being the worst case scenario. So they do an excellent job out here, folks. I nothing but the utmost respect for Pagasa, because they're constantly being hit by tropical cyclones numerous times a year, usually, and I mean this is what, 20 something storms that they've had to track this year. So they do an amazing job with their folks out there, and much respect to them for sure. All right, everybody, that's about all that I have here for tonight. I am going to go ahead and sign off. I thank you all for watching. We will be live again tomorrow night here on Facebook and YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, with the latest in the model data. We'll see exactly what's changed, what's trending over the next 24 hours. See if that first wave has still got that kind of dual vorticity signal there, with the Central Caribbean and the Western Caribbean kind of rotating all in one. So it'll be an interesting set of events. But again, folks, this is not guaranteed to develop into anything. There is no solid signal saying that, yes, we are going to see a bona fide tropical cyclone from this. It's not set in stone yet. So we've still got, we're going to pay attention to it. We're going to monitor it. But please don't freak out about this one. And the chance of, potential U.S. impacts are obviously not zero, but they are not far from zero. So again, don't panic, folks, please. We've just got to get through this signal, and right now it's not looking too bad. It's not, some scenarios aren't good, but it's not like, oh Lord, batten down the hatches, here we go. So, all right, everybody. Well, I'll talk to you again tomorrow night. Have a wonderful evening. Bye for now.